Well, there were times when I really just wanted to give up on this machine because it was a pain. So I hope you enjoy this video and get to see me going through a lot of fun times with this machine, getting it back and working so that the owner can get back to what she's working on for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, all the big things that she has going on in her life. The needle goes up and down. The hook doesn't move at all. In fact, the hook kind of moves freely. It's not supposed to do that. So let's get into this. We have here a service manual. So I found this online. But when I look at the service manual, because what I need to do is take apart this entire lower end of this machine at least. It may be more than just the lower end. We'll see. This service manual doesn't tell me how to take it apart. It tells me how to disassemble covers. And then it tells me how to adjust all this stuff, but it doesn't tell me how to replace parts or disassemble that far. So at least what I do have is a way to adjust the machine after we get it back together. So in this video we're going to be learning together. Maybe you'll see that I'm not as awesome as you think I am because I have no idea what I'm about to do. Alright, let's get started. Just so that you can see what we're actually doing here is we have a gear that's bad, and I've already got the gear. And you can get parts like this from Sewing Parts online, especially if you use my affiliate link below, which will help out the channel. So take a look at that, but they sell awesome parts and they guarantee that they will fit your machine. So this is the gear that we need, and if you look right here, here's where it is on this drawing right there. So it is on this lower shaft, which is on the bottom of that machine. And here I'll show you right now what all we have to move in order to get this shaft out, or at least out enough so that we can replace the gear on there. So the gear that we're replacing is inside of here right there, and you can see as I turn the hand wheel, the shaft is moving, but that gear is not because it has slid off of there. And so what do we have here? We've got this whole piece right here has got to come off. We've got this shaft. This is the shaft we're talking about, so this needs to get out of the way. Possibly this servo right here, possibly this servo right here. We've got some gearing over here, all kinds of stuff. This whole gear assembly thing needs to come out. And then we've got our, right here's our bushing, which can come out, and then so that is our timing belt for this machine as well. That's going to have to come off. So all this stuff needs to come out of the way so that that shaft can come out enough so that we can replace that gear. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here on the end attached to the shaft as well. So I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to just start taking things apart until we get to the point where I can get to that gear. So come along for the ride. Let's go. So the first thing I'm doing is kind of assessing, because I want this plate to come off. And I'm looking at everything that's attached to the plate. So we've got this bar right here that's attached. In fact, does this need to come out? Not yet. Alright. So these two screws right here probably need to come out because it's attached to this bar up here. Unless the whole bar needs to come out. So I'm going to start out, we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, because I can see where these are attached to the frame. And then we'll see if that moves. If it doesn't move, we'll take out these two. If that doesn't move, we'll start taking out more. I know this goes to the hook, and the hook is kind of blocked by some of these other components, so I'm pretty sure the hook's also going to have to be disconnected. I don't know if I showed you or not in the video, because this is probably going to be a long video. So I may be cutting out a few things, but regardless, I think that, or I know that taking pictures will help you a lot. So taking pictures even helps you get to the certain calibrations, get them close to what they were before you took the thing apart. So I always take more pictures than I need, and I always find that I should have taken more pictures at the end. So take lots of pictures. Okay, we are not budging. The bottom seems to be wiggling. The top is not even budging. Okay, that gives us more movement. So now I know that the bushing will have to come out for the shaft, so I'm going to loosen this up, which holds that bushing in place for the right side of the shaft. So the shaft has a bushing here and a bushing over here, and then in the middle there's a little bracket that kind of holds it in place. So that's going to prevent it from kind of coming out the way I want it to. But I can see that, yeah, the shaft is holding us in right now. So I'm going to stop messing with this for right now and work my way this way and see if, because in order to get to this, I've got to get, oh, you can't see that. All right. So if you see right here, this bracket right here has to come out because it's in the middle of this shaft. And in order to take that out, these screws need to come loose, and these screws are right up against this servo right here. So this servo is going to have to come out. That servo goes right up to the front of the machine up here, and you've got some linkages attached. So we're going to have to figure out how to get this servo out of here next. Did I say server? Servo? Yeah, servo. Maybe it's not a servo. Maybe it's actually a stepper motor. Sorry, my terminology's all over the place. You can tell me what they are in the comments. All right, what it looks like is that servo, let's call it a stepper motor. So that's probably the right term. That stepper motor right there is connected to this leg, which helps support the machine. And the reason I didn't remove this yet was because there's a little circlip on there, but we're gonna have to go ahead and remove that, and hopefully it doesn't fling off into oblivion. Oblivion is hard to find, I believe. Okay, it did not go into oblivion that way, but it did go into the machine. Oh, I see it. Okay, good. Let's try a magnetic screwdriver. And we got it. So this should, ideally, come right off with these 3 screws. Now, if Juki made this really easy to do, I would be very pleased, because I feel like this is going to take all day. Well, did you see that? It's just coming out. Okay, I like it when things do that. I don't want to lose the screw. Okay, I don't know if you notice, you probably can't see it very well, but I am going in order. So these are the first screws I removed, then second, third, fourth. I'm going in order of how I'm taking this apart and keeping the screws kind of segregated that way. Oh, I didn't need to take the circlip off. Maybe I didn't need to. Okay, we may have a wire cable in our way. Took some more pictures. We call that in the Navy a wire removal form. Not really, because I couldn't use a camera for that. I had to write it down. All right, there we go. And the way this goes in here, there's no calibration or adjustments. That's kind of nice. So there's a braided cable that goes in right through this square hole right here. And I had to remove this plate right here that helped to hold it on. See how that's got like a little keyhole in it? And so the braided metal cable, the ball end of it goes through that hole, and then the metal, it slides over and locks it in place. So that's good. Okay, now this moves easily, so if I pull on this, I can get more. Okay, something just clicked. Oh, that's never a good sound. Yeah, because this doesn't go back now. Something spring-loaded just clicked on us. We're just going to keep going. So now we want to remove this next servo here. By the way, it says right on here, stepping motor. It's not a servo, it's a stepper motor. Or stepping motor. I have to remember that I'm trying to show you how I'm doing this, and I can't just stop, or I can't just keep going. I have to stop and record. So here we've got the 2 screws removed for the stepping motor. And the only thing holding this up here is this metal bar. So I'm going to try and pull this metal bar out. Here's that cable we were talking about earlier. So now we're doing a metal bar for this stepping motor. Alright, now that we've got this whole thing kind of loose here and coming out a little bit, we should have a little bit of give on this the timing belt there, and so we need to pull the timing belt off, and then we can loosen this and have this end of the shaft loose and ready to come out. This is not going to come out because there's a shaft that goes into here that's connected. So this is basically one piece with this. All of this talk about stepper motor and timing belt. My kids are in the marching band at the high school, and I record all their stuff because I've got cool cameras that I like to use. So I record all their halftime shows and all the concerts and everything. Well, this year's halftime show is based on Mary Poppins. Step in Time. So I'm thinking stepper and timing belt. Step in time. Okay, well, it makes sense to me. Okay, we've got the whole shaft loosened. We've got our timing belt out. It easily slid over. And so now we're just kind of pulling, and we do need to pull out this upper shaft here. So unfortunately, I would have kept these 2 screws in had I realized that earlier, but I didn't. So if you're going to pull these 2 screws on the edges out, you need to leave the 2 screws in the middle in so that you have less to reassemble later. And maybe it wouldn't have sprung on us. I don't know. I still got to figure out what that was, because it's not going to go back together without it. Alright. Let's see. Will you move in one piece? Okay. Oh! 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 There we go. There we go. Okay. Alright. That's good. We got the old heart removed. We need to replace the heart and put it back in, transplant the heart back in. Okay, so we're going to move the machine out of the way. I believe what I need to line up is the, it looks like our thread cutter has moved on us. So that's what I got to be careful when we put this back together. I think the thread cutter might be our issue. So this piece probably does need to come out, which means the hook needs to come out, which means these 2 screws need to come out. Alright, we said the hook's coming out next. I mean, we're in it now. If this thing... Oh, there we go. Okay, alright, yep, there we go. That's totally how we want to be. Let's see here. I don't want to hurt this thing. Feed dogs are going to have to come out so that the hook can come out. Oh, that was kind of loose. Those are both kind of loose. Ooh, whoa, hello. That's interesting. So now this guy should come right out. He's going to get cleaned up a little bit. So what about this? We got springs holding this one in. So we need to know exactly where those springs are. Take pictures of both sides of your springs, because you don't know which side is going to want to come loose. Those did the trick. All right, there's another part out. We are down to, yeah, there's our problem. So did the gear even crack? It did crack. Yep. Okay. So here's our, this is a bushing. This is what we talk about. Whenever I say bushing, this is what I'm talking about. This little metal piece. Oh, hold on. Hold on. All right, so we got the bushing out. So will this just slide? Will it just slide out? Oh, up, up. We're turning, we're sliding, we're turning. Yes! Okay. Okay, now we got a shish kebab. We're gonna do a little cleaning real quick. Well, we're back from using some air, and the air gun kind of this thing started taking off at 1,000,000 miles an hour going around this, and then it blew into two parts. So the piece that indexes these guys right here, and these two ride in this, which shifts left and right, this little cradle right here, spring loaded. That may have something to do with our a thread cutter, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know. So, alright, what holds these in place? So they index on these guys, which are roll pins. And so luckily there's a hole on the other side. We can knock these roll pins out. We just have to remember that they need to be deep enough to index these guys. And they got to stick out on the correct side. So we'll figure out how to mark that a little bit later, because I would like to only have to remove 3 things vice all the rest of this. Alright, we're going to start digging into this thing. West from the future here, and I don't realize it right now, but I made a mistake right here, and it's getting ready to just destroy my life later on this machine. Oh boy. Next time I gotta be able to mark this thing or do a better job of getting it right where it needs to be. Alright. So I started to move this, and then I put it right back where it was because I just realized there's no indexing for this. That's automatic, so it needs to go back exactly where it came from. So what I'm noticing is we're just going to measure that right there. 46 millimeters. So let's draw . So that line's going to point to the pin that's underneath here. You can't see it, but there is a pin just like this underneath there. And now I should be able to just pull that off and be confident I'll get it back to where it should go. Then I want to get these two off, so this one's got to come off. It also needs to go back, so I'm going to assume that there's not an index underneath here. We're just going to measure that as well, so that we get that in the right spot. Now, the good thing is these don't have to be quite as precise as that 0.3 millimeters. They've got to be just close enough. There will have to be a little bit of adjustment with this as it goes back together, but as far as timing is concerned, alright, that's a 2 millimeter. Now one thing I did notice with the new one is that Juki gives a different, while we're at it. Okay, good. It does fit. And these look the same. So Juki does give these screws a different part number. So these set screws are not part of an assembly. So hopefully I pull these out, hopefully they go right into this new one. Otherwise I'm going to be looking for some set screws that fit. Oh, look at that, right in. Good. Alright, that's good. So we move that way. Now we can clear this right here, which right now looks like a blob. So there's no way to like turn this so there's a slot to push it off. It won't come off this direction. So we have to drive this out of here. So this is where some special-ish tools come in play. So I have this kit of little pins. And so what we're going to do for this is we found a pin that's smaller than the hole. And I've got another 2x4 over here so that we're level. And so I'm going to be driving this. So I guess I'm going to hold that like that. So I'm using my brass dead blow hammer, the brass side, because we're going to be hitting a little metal pin and hopefully not my fingers. Ha 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 ha! Okay, maybe we can pull it out now. Nope. There we go. Roll pin is out. You ever notice how your tools kind of encroach on your work area? Never happens. It's a clean work area, trust me, it's clean. So now that we have those pins out, we can pull this off. We can pull this off, which is what we're after. That's what we're after right there. We're going to put the new one on. We're going to put the old this on, and now we got to drive that right back in. And if you look at this side, it's got to be sticking out of the same side as this, so that means it needs to drive right back in through here on this side. We want to go in enough to where this will go on, and it's not going on yet, so we'll do a little bit more. Okay. This has to be able to move, so it's a little rough right now. There we go. That's nice. Alright, so that's easy. Slides right in and out, just like this one, so they both slide over. Easy. Got our new gear on. Got this little retainer thing on. And then we got to figure out how to put this one back on. So remember we said it's got to be in line with that. So we got a line that we drew on there. Should be in line with that right there, which should get us in the ballpark area. And then, let's see, do I need? Here, we'll do that. Okay. We need to measure. Our measurement was 46 millimeters, so what I'll do is I'll set this to 46. we'll tighten this down. And then that was on the bottom here. Okay, that's about where we want it. We're still at 46 there. So now we want to tighten this one up. Make sure we're still lined up, rotated correctly. So we're going to tighten this one. So now we'll tighten this other one. Then this will go there. This one, we got to measure this one. So our measurement is 98.3. Where these two screws are doesn't matter that much right now. In fact, I don't even remember where they were, so we're just going to tighten these down. We may want to move those. We may want to move this gear around after we get it installed, but because that would ease the timing set point on this thing if they're faced in the right direction when we're trying to do the timing. All right, we're just going to check that. Yep, we didn't move, so that's still good there. We'll get another little, okay, that's good. That's good. So there is our assembled shaft ready to go back in. There's our bad part right there. Oh, there's our bad part right there. Alright, so this one in here somehow like this, and then we got springs to put in to make it want to go in there. The other thing was I wanted to screw this in. So springs first or screws? Let's do screws first, and then we'll find out later that that was the wrong decision. I hope any of this is in focus. I think it is. Okay, let's try spring number one. We're going to try and pull it up here from the bottom. This one goes down through the bottom. It's the same thing we just did, just the opposite. Alright, so what did we forget about? Where's this supposed to go? Oh, that might... Oh dear. Oh boy. Oh boy. That should have been down. Okay. Alright. Alright, we're going to undo this spring here. So just a few more things that are left here. We've got the hook. Okay, as we are assembling this, we want to lubricate parts that we can't normally get to. So this is a good spot right here. And then our hook's going to go right in there. And hook screws, I think they were pretty long. So let's see if we can get this lined up. Oh, I need to look at my picture. Which way was this around? Am I backwards? Let's take a look at our pictures. I don't know if you remember me saying you can never take enough pictures, and I always don't take enough. Well, looky here, we barely got it on this picture right here, so I think I'm reverse of that right now. So let's see here. Oh, okay. So I need the pointy part down, the flat part up. So as I'm doing these feed dogs, I just want to make sure that they are centered on those screws. So that recess area around these screws, I want to make sure it's centered. That's a good place to start for these, and then you just alternate. You just get it flush, alternate, alternate, and then that'll give you a good place to start once you get it in the machine to align, because these will need to be aligned. Feed dogs. It's one piece. We call it dogs, plural. I don't know. I didn't name it. This piece keeps falling off, so there's a little trick here. You want some glue on there, we'll just put a little grease in there. And it will help hold that piece together. And then put a little oil assembly lubrication there for that bushing. You see in there? Okay, that's what sprung out. And these are all parts of... Okay, they've got to work together to go in. Ah, okay. That's going to be fun. Before I do this and I'm silent for about 20 minutes, I'll point out what I have to align. This guy right here has a piece right up here that it has to go into and slot into perfectly. These two pieces for your thread cutter have to align around this plastic end piece. I feel like this is not timed correctly, and the reason I'm saying that is there are stops on here as I'm turning it, and this should be a cam that this little guy up here rides in, and right now it's completely closed off. And so going through most of this operation, it's completely closed off. So I've done something with that timing. It would make more sense that it ends around there and then goes around the other way, because there's a slot here for that thing to ride in. So we might have rotated this around the wrong way. And I'm trying to figure out how to fix that now that I've put everything together. So this is a mistake that I made because I don't know what I'm doing. Just to be clear. Ha ha ha. What I think I want to do... Boy, this is not the easiest thing in the world. This right here, so I think I want it to, when it does its full rotation, I think I want it to be from here to here, because I'm imagining, right, that there's a pin that goes down like this, and that pin needs to be able to move and go bloop, and then go bloop bloop bloop, like that. So that should be my full range of motion there, and that pin is just about in the center of where this is. So this is the stop right here. So this piece slots into here and then creates that motion stop. As this is turning, it stops there, and it goes around and stops there. I think that's where I want to be on the far right. Alright, I don't know where we left off. I got a phone call there. And so what we have now is, I think we're close enough to get this going. So if I go far to one side, here's where it is. So we have our opening is up there, and then you also notice this guy moves as this goes. So now if we turn it, and then that's as far as it goes that way. So that might be correct, or it might not be. We're going to find out, because I'm noticing this guy. I don't know if that guy needs to be in a certain place. Oh, I see. That guy's moving this. Haha. Okay. Okay, we're going to give that a try, see what we have. Okay, hopefully you can see. There's going to be a lot of fiddling. But if we're not fiddling, I mean, really, what are we doing? Okay, what's there? What's there? What's there? Okay. What's there? I would like to have this on the gears before we push this in. Ah, okay. Okay, what I would like to do now, before I get any further, this is going to take some more adjustment, but what I want to get is this bearing back here, this bushing back here, captured so that we're not losing too many adjustment points at the same time. Okay, that's still loose, but it's on there enough to keep things from falling apart. Alright, the first thing I'm noticing is that little cam back here needs to be aligned. Okay, that's aligned. That's good. This guy also needs to be aligned up here. Wow. Things are going to jump out. Yep, we jumped out down here. Okay. Should I tighten this? I still have, no, I can't tighten that. Because I've still got to get needle threader stuff in the right places. Okay, this one right here is being our culprit. So this one has to go in just right. So I wanted to try and make this a tutorial, but when I don't even know exactly how I did this, because I think I've got it down now where it's working. One thing I found out was that this guy has to be all the way to one side when you're putting the machine back together. And then you have to go in, and I use this little ice pick hook scribe thing and pulled those little pieces for the little pins that were sticking out of the bottom of our various thread cutter elements, and had to align them as I was pushing this in, because it didn't want to push and go flush easily, and it needs to go and be flush nice and easy, right? You should not have to force anything on here to go together. So as I was slowly moving it in, we got the little half moon shape in there for our feed rocking shaft or something like that. I don't remember, but I moved this to one side. I was able to push this in most of the way and then grab those little things that were sticking out that I showed you earlier and put them where they needed to be. And then, well, let's put some screws in, and then I'll show you the other side, what we ended up seeing when we play with the different functions here. And I'm still very certain that our timing is way off for everything. But one thing at a time. Okay, we're going to take our step-in-time motor right here, and we're going to switch it to the other side. That should engage where we're cutting our thread. See how that works? And I don't know if it works backwards or whatever. So there we go. Boom, we cut our thread, and then, and you can even see this one's also sticking out while we do that. And then after that happens, it goes back. And as it's going back, it pulls back this guy right here. So let me show you. Forward. Boom. And then it goes back. Check this out right here. So as the needle comes down, you'll notice this, the feed dogs are coming up. They're coming up to meet that needle. And that is about as bad as you can be on your timing. So we're about 180 degrees out on our timing for the feed. And then let's look at our hook. So the hook, so as the needle comes down and comes back up a little bit, the hook is very close to being right, but not quite right. So the needle goes down all the way and then comes up a little bit. Now, after it comes up just a tiny bit, we should have the hook right here. We don't. So is the hook in time with feeding? It could be. But what we're going to do is adjust both of them. And this is, when you adjust both of them, that's basically saying that we didn't get the belt put back on in exactly the same place that it was. So I need to adjust that gear on the bottom for the belt. when both your feeding and your hook are off. So down here we've got a couple of set screws, and that's really dark, but they're in there. And we're gonna loosen those and see if we can set our timing to be about where it needs to be. Okay, what I want right now is for my feed dogs to be aligned correctly, because I know that I can do just the hook from below the set screws on that gear. So right now I want when my needle is at the very top, I want my feed dogs to be at the very top. So I'm going to turn the hook, which is turning that whole shaft down below, till that the feed dogs are in the very top and middle of their stroke. Right about there is where I like that. Let's see if I can get to these set screws now. I can't even see a single one. That's great. Should I tell you my little trick? I tightened that set screw just so it touched, and to where when I turned this hand wheel, my hook turned with it, but I could hold my hand on the hook and stop it. So what I did was I put the feed dogs up at the top where I wanted them, and then held onto the hook, and then turned the hand wheel so that my needle bar moved up to the top position. And now I'm happy with where we're at. So now we can tighten those set screws down underneath. So right now we have the needle bar is timed with the feed dogs. And then, so our hook is only about just under 45 degrees out from where it should be. So I should be able to see these set screws right underneath here. Juki made them nice and easily accessible. So we're going to loosen these set screws for that gear that we just installed. And the way they made this is you move that gear front to back. And if you run out of space, you may have to turn the gear. Okay, that was our rough timing. So now I want to put a needle in there, because without rough timing you can't even put a needle in. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing is my hook or my needle is to the left. So again, when you're going through the actual guide in your service manual to set timing and all that, there's going to be a lot more to it. This is a rough timing, so we're going to have to actually put covers on. We're going to have to sew with this, and then go through and check the timing and make sure everything is good there. But as far as the rough timing, we've got it. You can see when the needle goes down into the fabric, when it's down, the feed dogs are down. When the needle comes up, feed dogs come up. Feed your fabric when the needle's outside of the fabric, and then needle comes back down at the same time those feed dogs went down. So our feed dogs are timed right and our needle's timed right. We could run into issues with our timing of our thread cutter, which I don't even want to think about right now. So we're gonna put this together and we're gonna try it and see what we've got. Alright, it's been another day, so we're back on our day 2 on this machine. We've got the machine all put together, but one thing I did notice is that I have a clip that did not get put into this machine, and I think I found where it goes. It goes right up in here. So maybe you caught it, maybe you caught that I didn't reinstall that, but that needs to go right in there before we go any further. And then the next step here is we're going to put the machine back together mostly, and then we're going to check, we're going to go through some of the adjustments in the service manual about how to check all the things that we just messed up. And so we have everything approximate where we want them, and we're getting ready to set them the way they should be. Alright, we got the machine together just enough to test, so let's take a look. Let's go ahead and plug this in. And turn it on. So that's looking good. What do we have here for our timing? Timing looks pretty good. One thing I'm wondering about, lower presser foot. Okay. Oop. Okay. Will we, if I hit the scissors, is that going to work? Okay. It does something. Like it's going through motions, like it's trying to cut some thread, so we might have the thread cutter aligned correctly. And I know we've got timing and the feed timing as well very close to where they need to be just by observation. So now I'm going to go through our service manual for a different machine, but hopefully close enough because I couldn't find the one for this machine. And I'm gonna go through some adjustments. I don't want this to become the world's longest video on one machine, so we'll just do the highlights here. Alright, we've come to the part of this where we're doing the feed dog height, and I'm adjusting the feed dog height. And I've been working on this tool and I haven't had a good reason to use it yet, and today we have a good reason. So this is something that I 3D printed on the resin printer, and this is a precise go no-go test. So if you look at the top there, you might be able to see it's like an eye shape, and on this side, this little part right here is 1 millimeter away from the edges. And on this side, this little flat part right here is 0.8 millimeters from these two edges. So what that means is this can be a test to make sure that your feed dogs are at the right height. So there's a go and a no-go side. This is something I learned in the Navy. I'm not sure how ubiquitous these tools are, go, no-go tests. But basically what it means is when you're on this side, now this is white, there are letters printed on here, but you can't read them. Maybe I'll try and do something better if I actually produce these to sell them. But right now we're still testing. This side says no-go. That means that when you set it on your machine, the 0.8 distance is down, so it should not work. So what that means is when you turn your machine, your feed dogs should be 0.8 to 1 millimeter above the needle plate, typically. So that's not the same for every machine, but it works for a lot of machines. That's why I chose those values. So this machine is about, it's 1 plus or minus 0.1 millimeters. So 0.8 to 1 will get us close enough to that range, I feel. So then you flip it over. So the no-go test should raise this up off of that needle plate, and you'll see daylight underneath here. Then you flip it over, and now you have the 1 millimeter side. That's a go test, and so what that means is that this thing should not lift off the plate. It should pass the test of staying on the plate when you turn the hand wheel and raise those feed dogs to the highest position. So I am setting this feed dog height on this machine right now, and I started using this tool and I thought, well, I'll share this with you too. So another issue that I ran across was how do you adjust these. So the service manual tells you to put a 2 millimeter Allen wrench or hex wrench inside here to adjust it, and I tried that and I couldn't get it to work at all until I figured out it's not a 2 millimeter hex wrench, it's actually a flathead on there. So then I had to find a flathead that was just the right height that I could grab onto, and so this one kind of works. I had another one that I tried that I couldn't grab onto. Your typical ones that fit in a nut driver are too big to fit in this hole. Then I found this one. This is a tool I've had for a while, but this one has like a flexible, whoa. So this one has like a flexible thing to it, so you can bend it and get it in there. So on this side I'm able to do this, bend it in, and then get it to seat down in there, and then I can feel this actually working and turning that way. And then this one on this side, you could get it in there as well. So now we want to do our no-go side, so that means a 0.8 millimeters. We're going to put this underneath our presser foot and push it down, and then I'll bring you in closer with this camera and you can see how it raises up when we have it right. So this one is for the rear end height and this one is for the front end height of the feed dogs, and you'll see that as we adjust. So we're going to adjust this one over here. So this should be, what did I just say, the front end height. So I'm tightening it down and it should be raising up. Oh, do you see it? See it raising up? And then we'll lower it. So when this touches, we know we're exactly 0.8. So what I'm going to do is raise it up just a tiny bit. Okay, we're going to lower it so we touch. We're going to raise it until it raises up a tiny bit and then call it, and then that's good. So then we'll do the other one, which will be harder to film, I think. So we're going to tighten this one, and you see it starts raising right away, so we're going to lower it, and then so now we know that both sides are up just a hair. So now we flip this around and it should be flush, and we should be able to turn our hand wheel and it's not moving at all. So this side is the go side and it is passing the test, and then this side is the no-go side, and it is failing the test because you can see that it's rising up. Now we know we have between 0.8 and 1 millimeter feed dog height. That's what I said. Okay, now with our feed timing, so we're checking our feed timing. So it says that when the needle, as it's descending, you want the eye of the needle to be equal or even with the top right there, the plate, and the feed dogs should be level with the top of the plate, and they are lower than the top of the plate. So we need to adjust our feed timing. And then for our feed timing, we're going back underneath the machine to this pulley right here, and we're going to adjust this pulley. So I'm going to loosen these two screws. We're going to adjust so that we match what they want to see with our needle and our needle plate. Now I've got the needle down to where it should be. I've got the feed dogs level with the top of the needle plate, and then as long as we're pretty close, it says plus or minus 1 millimeter, we're good. So now I'm going to go tighten up those two screws we just loosened and move on. Okay, now we're going to check the hook timing. I've already said it, but I'm going to show you what I did. So we want to go with the needle as low as possible. So at the lowest point there, and then you raise it up 1.6 millimeters. And at that point, you should see that the tip of that hook is right behind the needle. And then the eye of the needle should be about 3.2 millimeters below the hook, and it should be lined up with the hook. So then you adjust that gear on the bottom that we installed until you get to that point, and then you'll be good. And then some of you might also notice that this little guy's up. So I don't know if it was me, it was probably me, but in removing the needle plate, it's got this little section over here that you have to be careful with, and I was not, because this caught the little sensor over here. So I've pulled this up. I've ordered a new one, but this sensor got destroyed somewhere in this process of putting the needle plate on and off multiple times. So now I have to wait till that comes in order to get this machine together and test it and everything. Also, oh yeah, for the hook timing, the needle had to be all the way to the right, which was how I found this, because it wasn't sensing the needle plate correctly and wasn't letting the needle move from center. So we will wait for a new part to come in from Sewing Parts Online, and we'll be back later. Well, for me it's been a few weeks. For you it's been a few seconds. I got this part, so this part had to come from Japan. That's why this took so long. But this is the part that I think I broke. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not going to end up charging the customer for this. I think when I was removing the needle plate that it caught on this, and I don't know if that was my fault or the machine's fault, so we're just going to go with it was my fault. And let's get this put back in, and then we'll get this machine put back together because it came in because there was a gear broken. And we still got to find out if we fixed it. So I did order these parts from sewingpartsonline.com, and I do have an affiliate relation with them. So that means if you use my link in the description below this video to order parts from them, then you will be helping out our channel and also not spending any more money. You'll spend the same amount that you were going to spend. It's just that it still helps out our channel because I sent you there as a customer. I love them because, especially with this part right here, I called them because I was trying to figure out if I was going to be waiting a day, a year, a millennium for this part. And when I called them, I got a human, and the human said, yes, that part's in Japan. It is in stock in Japan, so they will have to ship it from there. So they said about 2 weeks, and guess what? It's been about 2 weeks. So I learned a lot from this sewing machine. So we couldn't really find a good manual that kind of led me through the process of completely disassembling the bottom end of this machine. But we were able to do that, and then I'm going to start sewing here just to kind of see if we've actually got this thing fixed. We haven't even made a stitch with this thing yet. So I learned a lot doing this machine. Let's see here, what do we have? We are making stitches. Oh. And we did not cut the bobbin thread, so that's not good. Alright, so if I'm looking at this, I'm noticing white dots on the bottom, so our bobbin tension is too high. Yeah, that's awfully difficult to pull. That's way difficult to pull. Okay, take 2 for the test. See how we do. Alright, we still have an issue with the tension. Feed dogs are much better. Still not real happy with the sound that it's making. So we'll go through the process of aligning the thread trimmer, and maybe that could be our problem because we did mess some things up down here, and I found this in the service manual. So we're going to hold reverse and the thread cutter while we turn the machine on. Now we're in the service mode. We want to go down to 12. And then watch this down here when we go to 12 and press OK. This is going to move. So now we're in a calibrate position. And what we want to have is, there's a little line here that needs to align with the end of this. And it's not perfectly aligned, so we're going to align that. We also have some play there. But it's still not aligned even when I mess with it. So we're going to try and align that, and hopefully that will help us out with our problem. So I need to loosen that screw and this screw. Okay. Ooh, yeah, it moved a lot. Okay. And then it's supposed to be aligned this way as well, and you're just supposed to do that. Spring loaded too, apparently, so I'm going to do one of these first, a little bit, not real tight, but tight enough. Okay, so that was too far over. Okay, let's see, I want to go a little bit closer. That seems to be right on the money, so we're going to try that. Maybe this will work. Okay, we'll give this one a try. Let's see what we have. Helps when you plug in the pedal. Ho 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 ho! Okay, we are still a little tight on the lower thread. One of the fun things about being me is that I have a terrible memory, and I can't remember what I did yesterday, regardless what I did a few weeks ago. So when I took this apart, one of the things I had to do was move this inner plastic piece right here. That piece that's moving. Had to remove that in order to get the new gear in place. So it was not set exactly where it should be. So we're apart for a third time, and I think so. I did adjust this and I moved it that way a little bit, maybe an eighth of an inch. I'm not sure, but somewhere in there. And now we get to play the game of, was that enough? Was it too much? And the only way to test it that I know of is to put everything back together. So I just couldn't remember that I actually removed that, because I knew that this piece was over this far a little too much, and that's where the little tab inside there kept kicking around and hitting one of these little tabs in here. But I thought maybe the whole shaft needed to come over, and that's impossible because there's a clip over here that keeps it exactly in the right position. So that was no good. I eventually had to take it all apart again and then find that. And then I also had to find that there's not one, but there's two little tiny grub screws in there that had to be adjusted, or loosened. That had to be loosened in order to move this. So I've set it for the right thing, and now I'm tightening these screws, and we will give it a try again. I drew all kinds of lines so I would have the timing correct, so it's still in line where it was. It's just moved on the shaft that way, just a tad. So hopefully a tad is the right measurement, and we're about to find out. So it's late at night. This right here, the problem we were having was the cam way down inside here that operates this guy right here. Every revolution was causing it to twitch. So now as we're turning, it's not moving at all. Now when I first adjusted that cam down there on the shaft, I went too far. So then it was hitting this one every time it turned around, and this one was like moving this whole deal. So now I got it adjusted just right. We're in the Goldilocks zone where neither one of these two are moving, and we're gonna have a nice smooth machine. So I'm calling it quits for the night, but the things we have to do tomorrow are set the timing, because the timing is still way off right now. Okay, timing's kind of close now that I'm looking at it, but just sheer luck. And then we've got to do that adjustment where we adjust the position of this as well. And there's a whole bunch of screws and things and stuff that all needs to be put back together underneath. So we will see you tomorrow. So I wrote myself a list because I don't know if I told you, but my memory isn't the best. So last night I had to make sure that I set the timing. So I did that. We got our timing set, approximated where it needs to be. I reconnected all the wires that were back there. I put the screws in the bottom plate, so all the screws holding everything together are in and tight. And then I did that program 12 again for the thread cutter to make sure it was aligned correctly, and I had to align that again because we did mess with the other alignments. So now I think that we're ready to sew with this machine and see what it does for us, and hopefully it's going to work this time. I'm kind of nervous about this one because this machine's been a long journey, and I would really love for it to work right now because you know, there's other machines in my shop, and I would like to get to some other machines and not still be working on this one. So my goal here is a nice smooth sewing motion, no clanging noises, and then making the stitches that we want to see. We did do some tension adjustments. I did adjust that upper tension a little bit to make it a little tighter. So we'll see where we're at on all of this. All right, here we go. Okay, that's sounding good. Now, did we cut the thread? We cut the thread. I got little white dots on this side. I got little black dots on this side. Can you see it? So we're going perpendicular on this one. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time to try a zigzag. Oh, again. All right. So the tension is looking good. I'm happy with that because I believe this is an embroidery. It's not. Okay. But still, that's pretty good. That, again, the last little bit of the tension you can do adjusting up here. All right, well, that's working. I don't know if I can do the waffle stitch because of the presser foot is not the one that came on this machine. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, look at that. Waffle stitch looking good. Now it's time to put this whole machine together, put all the screws in, put everything together, clean it up. We may do one last sew. I'm not sure if I'm going to show you that. But before that, we get into that, we'll talk a little bit about this machine. So, all right, we did find the service. We did find the service manual for this machine, and that helped out a lot for the adjustments. But it doesn't help it out at all when you're removing a gear. So it doesn't really tell you how to disassemble this whole machine and take it down to parade rest, as we used to say in the Navy. So we did all that. We got the new gear in, and then my memory didn't help me, so I couldn't remember all the little parts about the adjustments and those sort of things, which ended up hurting us because we had an adjustment that was off. And I'm sure as I edited this video, I kind of pointed it out as we went, and then you got to see towards the end how I finally figured out what was wrong. But we got that adjusted right. You got these two plates. You got a plate on the bottom, and then you got the plate on the top, and both of them can be adjusted a little bit. So we made sure the one on the bottom was in like a central position, in a good position. And then as we turned the wheel, nothing was jumping up here. And then we used that service program, mode 12, to set the top plate there, the correct position with regards to the thread cutter, because they have a nice little line on there that shows you how to adjust it or where to adjust it to. So that was good. I think I broke this piece. Again, I'm not sure. 100% if that was me, but it's broken. And so I fixed that, and that's good to go. I learned a lot on this machine, and hopefully I can remember those things that I learned, even though I'm a conceptualizer. I'm not really a memorizer, so I won't remember what type of machine this was. But if I got back into the same machine, I'd be like, oh yeah. So I wouldn't be able to tell you it's a QV, DX 2000 QVP, but when I get into it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've been into this assembly before because I know how it works. I know how it feels and all those sort of things. So my memory is just kind of weird. I conceptualize. I don't really memorize. And so I forget a lot of names too, my customers' names and that sort of thing too. So I have to write down notes to myself of things I have to remember. So this machine was a challenge. This is probably a long video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you're checking out sewingmachinerepairguy.com, and thanks for watching.